Now. Sorry, it froze.
Well, you can't hit me. You can't hit me. Hello, Lunchroom Syndicate. Jay Beach here alongside Leon Dreisidel. And today we are
Hello.
going to be reminiscing over Fable 2.
Yes. If you watched the last live stream, if you haven't yet, do it. Fucking do it.
Yeah, go back and watch it live.
We reminisced a bit about some video games. We did some video game console things, and we started talking about Fable 2, and you're like, you know what? Let's make a series out of Storytime memories. And the first one we decided to do is a legendary game for many different reasons, Fable 2. I remember when this game came out, the first trailer I'd seen, I don't know if it was the first one, but the first trailer came out in May 2007. I'm pretty sure that was the first one I seen. And I remember how excited I was for this game. Now, keep in mind that I was a huge fan of Fable 1. I love that game to death, one of my favorite games of all time. So when Fable 2 came out and we saw the original trailers that they did in video diary form, they actually did 7 of them pre-release and 2 afterward. I remember how just hyped I was for that.
Yes, now correct me if I'm wrong. Fable 1 came out before the two of us had met, and we had never talked about Fable before. Then we both saw the previews for Fable 2. We're both freaking out. Then we went back and revisited the original Fable, and we're like, holy shit, yes, we are doing this. We are both getting this. We are going through, and we are going to be playing through this together on our own, but each one of us at the same time, and keeping track of that. And then they later introduced the multiplayer.
Nice try.
Yes, this is a game where 99% of the game, it's probably my favorite. And then 1% of the game, I'm like, fuck you, this game sucks ass.
Oh, yes, that 1%. We'll get to there. We'll get there! 15 years later, I'm still pissed about it. This year will be 15 years. It was released on October 21st, 2008. And I was a wee young lad at 21 years old. Fable 1 did come out, you were right, pre us meeting. I think it was 2004 it came out, so even before I even graduated high school. When this game came out, we both pre-ordered it. We did it, like you said, we did it at the same time. You were faster in it than I was, but I tend to be really, really... I play these types of games really long, so it takes me a while to get through them. The things I remember on this game is, the gameplay felt pretty smooth. It wasn't nearly as laggy as the first one, although it had its moments. The RPG elements were streamlined from the first game. You didn't have to go to one specific place. You could just do it on the pause screen. They were a bit simpler. Not that Fable 1 was difficult. It wasn't. And even to this day, this game, if you go back and look at it, for a 2008 Xbox 360 game, 15 years ago, still looks fucking amazing. Graphics, environmental-wise. The people still suck. They never really got down how they wanted to actually do the people, but...
Well, I'm going to be, after this, I'm going to be in the mood to go back and restart the damn thing again.
Right. It's on my list for the Zunker Gaming channel.
It's a game I've restarted a few times. And, it's... playing through from the beginning, everything feels extremely familiar. I know exactly what's going on through that, and I really enjoy it. And then at some point, I'm playing through, and I just get reminded of something, and I'm like, "Fuck! I better stop now."
Yeah.
The game's broken up into 3 acts, and
the fuck are you doing? Sorry, cats.
The game's broken up into 3 acts, and I played through the first 2 acts and absolutely love it. And now there's some really good parts in Act 3, but that's usually my stopping point. Is I get through Act 2, and I beat the game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was at the end of Act 2 or not, where they had the boss battle versus the commander of the Spire. Do you remember him?
Yeah, you go through like that little tournament, Mortal Kombat tournament thing, and then you get taken basically as a slave from there into the Spire, and then you battle your way out of the Spire, and I get through that, and that's where I'm done.
Because that fight against the commander felt like the final boss. It was a really good boss battle. I enjoyed it a lot. Some other things that I enjoyed with this game, before we get to the mess that we will talk about. You had a lot of good side quests. The side quests were fun. The dog, I love having that dog in the. He was fucking useless in the game.
I was very protective of him, though.
Me too. I loved having them. That was awesome to have. Again, pretty damn useless.
Oh, he'll tell you digging spots. I don't need them.
Unless you were going 100% and you want silver keys, which I don't think neither one of us did.
Oh, I have.
Oh, gotcha. So this game was based 500 years after the original Fable, which at the time I remember thinking, I'm surprised it wasn't a direct sequel, but I'm glad they didn't go that route because there really wasn't a sequel to be had with the original Fable directly. And, then you became Sparrow, as is called in game, and your sister. That's how the game begins. You are homeless on the street with just you and your sister. The dog comes up, finds you. You guys make a wish on a box using the same trader, actually, from the original Fable, Murgo. I didn't know that until recently.
Could you try that sentence again?
No. So the game is based in Bowerstone, a pretty big area in the original Fable, and you are Sparrow, who you and your sister are homeless on the street, and they did a really good job of incorporating Bowerstone's for dreariness, downtrodden nature of Bowerstone at that point. And, you start off kind of like you do in Fable 1, where you're going around finding gold pieces, but this time for a music box that will allegedly give you any wish you want, right?
Why are you going after a music box?
Well, it's a music box that was the big thing in that, because I said it allegedly is an old kingdom artifact that allegedly granted any wish you want. So that's why you're getting the gold pieces. And you were told this by Teresa, who was the sister of the hero from the first game. And I'll talk about her more later as well. So you get this music box that does nothing. You waste 3 gold pieces, whatever the hell it was, and you go back to sleep. And then Lord Lucian comes out and orders you to his castle. He wants you to come visit, which was the wish of your sister, Rose, I believe is their name.
And it's a very slow fucking walk to go see him.
It is a very slow walk. They make that probably a bit too slow, but it was interesting.
Not a bit. Like, you can go and fuck around all over the fucking place, like trying to jump off cliffs and shit. And then they're still walking down the hall, and you just... that part drags.
That part does drag. But finally you meet him, and it ends up he wants to find you for nefarious reasons, because you had the bloodline of the hero. He shoots your sister, kills her, and shoots you. You somehow survive despite going out the window and a crazy fall thanks to Teresa. And that's where the game is
I
going.
think you survive very similarly to Batman Returns and becoming Catwoman.
Yeah, why not?
Right. You're like laying dead in the streets, and then the dog comes over and licks you, and you become Dog Man.
Yeah. So it picks up 10 years later, and then Teresa's basically your trainer, and for the player, your what's the word I'm looking for? Jesus Christ, the words have been
your guide.
Your guide, yes, your guide. And then the game goes on. It keeps you immersed. I like the story of it. I mean, it's not gonna win any awards or anything, but it was a pretty good story up to a certain point.
It didn't win awards?
I don't think the story itself did. I think the game did, but not like the story itself. You're not winning an Oscar with this story. It's a basic. It's more or less a basic game. It's not anything crazy, unless I'm missing something. But like it's not that great. But nonetheless, so finally we get to it's you have to find 3 heroes as you mentioned through the first 2 acts: Hammer, Garth, and Reaver. I think Reaver is actually Act 3.
Yes.
You go into
Well, that's how the acts are broken up. First act you meet Hammer.
Yep.
Third act you get Reaver, and who was the other one?
Garth.
Yeah. Garth, the magic user, and you get him. You save him. That's why you wanted in the Spire to be a prisoner, was to save him.
Which a certain amount of time passes. I think 10 years or something. You're stuck in the Spire. That's the game time, and then when you come out, one thing I really liked was the environment changes based on kind of how you did things initially and previously. So if you did the Temple of Avo and you were pretty hardcore into that grew up well, and the other temple didn't. If you went the other route, that grew up well. It had some changes in it. I liked that. That was pretty cool.
The town that you leave, where the dock is that you leave to go to the Spire, that has some pretty drastic change to it if you invest in one of the side quests there, and you come back and you're like, holy shit, this is like an actual town and not just a weird little dock anymore.
The gypsy camp, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about the other?
It's not the gypsy camp.
No.
The gypsy camp's like the first place that you're at as an adult. I don't think you're an adult.
Yeah, you're still
young adult. Young
adult would be accurate, because I think they went through a little bit of a time warp beyond that, between when you got shot and then when you started actually training. There's no Heroes Guild in this game, which I liked. You didn't hear, do you have any potions or food? Your will energy seems low. What's that? Or whatever the fuck he says in that one. And I like that in the Easter egg in one of the load screens, where they said the hero of Oakvale, which was the original, what they called the Fable 1 hero, got so sick of him that he ended up burning down the entire guild and killing the guildmaster. I like that little lore that they added into the screen.
Must be the sorriest excuse of a hero I ever saw, and I've seen plenty.
But now, so up to a certain point, this is one, I'm playing through this game. This is one of the best games I've ever played. I love the combat. I love the magic use. You and I aren't really magic users in games like this, and yet this game I think does a really good job. You can combine magic. At this point, I'm in love with this game. I love everything about this game. But now it's time to talk about the end.
No, fuck the end. I want to talk about all the prostitutes in Act 3.
Oh yes, all the prostitutes. Jay, how many people did you get in one sitting? It took like an hour and a half.
This was the longest. Like, we were talking in the previous video of ours about the load screen. I broke the load screen here because you can have intercourse with people, and when you do, it cuts to a black screen, and then you hear some of the worst sexy talk. But you can also have intercourse with multiple people at one time. And I had like 50 people following me into the bedroom. I found out in the middle of that it was a free-for-all. A person's sex need not apply in that. And that black screen was up for fucking ever. I think it's still up. If I turn the game back on, I think I'm still in the middle of that.
Oh man, that was. I think I was on the phone with you, or I was there. I don't remember which one. Either way, I just remember like, holy shit, this is taking forever. It took a long time because each person gets like 3 or 4 lines of dialogue during it. It was hilarious.
And they went through each one individually. I ended up leaving with like 103 STDs.
You did.
Then my wife found out about it. She got all mad and divorced me. So I had to run back to gypsy camp and do it all over again there at the gypsy camp in front of her.
Fair. Didn't you
Yeah,
also have like 10 wives in the gypsy camp living next to each other?
yeah, they find out about each other and they take off and they get all pissed off and like run away. So I'm like, I might as well have them all like as neighbors. Like you can do some just crazy stuff in that game with with the relationships in it, and I exploited that tremendously.
Yes, you did, and just like the first game, they had a evil, good system, and there was actually two different systems in it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
But
you also had a purity and a corruption.
that's what it
Now,
was, and
now you could be good and corrupt, but it was very hard to do that. So you
yes,
did get bad points for divorces.
a
Um,
lot of bad points, like a ridiculous
oh,
amount.
yeah, but you could also run to the church and donate some money and just get that taken away. And when I had like an infinite amount of money, so that was no concern for me whatsoever. So I was still purely good.
That you were. Um, but yeah, you could do some crazy things in this game. Again, 99% of this game is one of my favorite games of all time. It was incredible the stuff you could do in this game, and it gets shit on by some people because again, just like in Fable 1, Peter Molyneux overhyped the shit out of this game, oversold it, and the multiplayer especially
The
was one of
multiplayer
those things, and it was
lacking.
awful. It wasn't even lacking; it was awful. Like one of the worst. Like it should not have been implemented being that bad. So it got some shit for that. I do remember that, but you take away the overhype, and this game was fucking incredible. Until it wasn't.
Well, like pretty much every RPG that I play, I find cheat codes. I mean, I don't go looking for them. I find them. This one was one of my favorites. One of the earlier towns that you go into, it's where you get like your first job, and you work that job, and then you can buy a house. And if you buy the right house, you sleep in the bed, you get an ability point.
Yep.
You can sell that ability point, but you keep it.
Oh.
And then you sell it and you keep it, and you sell it and you keep it, and you sell it and you keep it, and you do that until you can afford the next tier. Then you sell it, but you keep it, and you sell it, but you keep it until you're the next tier and the next tier. You have an infinite amount of ability points. This is a game also where when you have residual income, it worked in real time. Like, well, if that's the case, I'm going to jump my Xbox up 20 years and go back in and, hey, look at that. I have 20 years worth of income right then. And you can continue doing that.
I thought there was a limit to that. Like, you can only get so much at one time, but I could be wrong on that. But
Yeah,
I thought there was a limit.
It didn't give you 20 years. Like, you got a substantial amount. So you do that, then you go back and you buy as many houses as you can, rent them all out, do it again. And you're jumping up to an amount of money that you'll never be able to spend in 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I did not use that cheat. I did it the old-fashioned way, and I still had plenty of money by the end of the game.
It's not cheating when I find it myself.
You're not wrong. You're exploiting the system. That's all it is. They should not. They should have programmed it better. So, unlike Dragon Age, where I exploited the shit out of that cheat because they didn't give you shit for gold in that game. But nonetheless, we'll talk about Dragon Age in another story time. But yeah, I do remember you. I forgot about that exploit. Man. Yeah, you do find the craziest exploits in games, man. Two Worlds was another good one.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, that's
The
another
best.
one. We don't have up. That's a much shorter video.
Yeah. I'd be like a 10-minute video tops.
But yes, Dragon Age, Fable 2, and Two Worlds are probably my favorite exploits that I have ever found.
Mm-hmm. It was. And Two World, yeah, we'll save that because, that was good. That was so good. But yes, so And there were so many different areas you could go to, similar towns that you could go to in Fable 1, and one of them being the remnants of Oakvale the second time, because Reaver sold Oakvale to, I don't remember what they were called, but they were some demon entities to keep him looking young, and poor Oakvale just could not catch a fucking break.
No, that was flooded and on fire and a disaster. But it was still nifty. When you enter in, there was something about it that felt familiar, but not quite right. And they changed the layout a little bit, but not much. They kept it for the most part.
And they didn't call it Oakvale either. I think they called it Wraithmarsh, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
They didn't call. I know they didn't call it Oakvale, but I may be wrong on the actual name. But
yeah, but you're going through and you just feel something familiar about it, and then you get advanced so far into the story, and you start getting flashbacks to what it was back in Fable 1, and you're like, "Fuck, it is! It's Oakvale." Yeah, touches like that, just fantastic. You still had your hidden gargoyles everywhere, which I've made reference to a few times already in there. And they're just funny. They're just, you go around and they're just making fun of you. Like, "Hi, my name's Barndor, but you can't hit me."
And they talked with like a really strong Scottish accent. Or was that the Fable 3? No, I think it was the Gargoyles that did that. Fable 3 did something similar with Gnomes. I thought they were way funnier. Those guys were fucking a blast. And they were brutal in that game, man. It's like the one aspect of Fable 3 that to this day I love more than anything. As those fucking gnomes, man. They were assholes. The Gargoyles were too, but...
Well, Lions had put stuff like that throughout, because you could also, just like the first one, you could have a title, and you could buy your title from the town crier, and then you buy that, and that's what everybody calls you in the game. So, like,
hello, Art's face.
Yeah, you had you had chicken chaser.
Chicken chaser was the main. I think the first one you get.
But yeah, those are small little things that really don't do anything to the gameplay, but add to the experience pretty considerably. You still had your mystery doors. I didn't like the mystery doors in the second one as much as I did in the first.
Agreed. They were far less numerous, number one. I do remember, or at least it felt that way. I could be wrong. But they just weren't as... They didn't have the same charm, I would say.
Some of them were very difficult to open, and the rewards
sucked.
They weren't equal for the amount of time that you had to put into opening them.
It was... I do remember one thing that I was disappointed by, but also makes sense because it introduced gunplay into Fable 2, because you didn't have that in Fable 1 at all. You had bow and arrow, but you didn't have gunplay. They added the gun, which was the blunderbuss. It wasn't very good guns. But they didn't have armor at all. They just had clothing. I was a bit disappointed, but it made sense for the time period. But
yeah, which you didn't take advantage of in the first Fable anyway.
Oh my god, that first Fable. I hard mode it. Or I level 1 that shit. The original Fable, shit you not, the first time I ever beat, I had no idea you could it was an RPG, because I never played an RPG up to that point. That's very critical. And I had no idea you had to spend your experience points, and I beat the entire fucking game never leveling up. You know how hard Jack of Blades is when you have it leveled up? Holy fucking shit!
He's difficult anyway.
Yeah, he's difficult anyway, and it took me like an hour and a half to beat the motherfucker. And like I was like, how do you beat this guy? How do you beat this guy? I'm like, I don't know how I ever missed it. And then when it was over and you were going around, you could play afterward. I'm like, what's this green thing? You son of a bitch.
So that was Jack of Blades, just a great villain. Who's the villain in the second one?
Lucian's technically the villain.
Oh, Lucian. Okay, let's talk about that final fight, because that's another fantastic one, wasn't it?
That was It was very memorable.
I put in now. I'm north of 80 hours with ease on this that I have put into this game. And again, it's one of my favorite games. And man, you get to that final fight, and I am stoked for that. I was well ahead in the gameplay from Christopher here. And I wanted badly not to ruin things for him, and it was tough because it took you like a month before you caught up.
Yeah.
But I get to the end, I'm fully invested. I'm like, all right. Normally, I'm a scene skipper like crazy in video games. Not here, though. Nope. Let's listen through. And they're all going through, and they're, having their whole spiels, and I'm getting warmed up for the big final fight. And then Reaver just goes and like, yeah, fuck it. One shot. Shoots Lucian off the cliff, and he dies. Game over. That was the boss fight. I didn't even do it. One shot. I didn't even get to take the shot.
I remember.
You interrupted it because again, I don't know how I kept it to myself, but I did.
That was impressive. You never said a word. You didn't even hint at it, which I thought was the most impressive part.
You get to the end. You're pissed because he was one shot. Like you shot him in the foot or something.
I shot him in the balls.
You shot him in the balls, and he died. I'm like, well, at least that's respectable. I did nothing, and I won.
Yeah.
It's not a boss fight, and so you can't. My favorite game. Then you have that ending, and I can't play it. That's why I stop after Act 2.
Yeah, no, I can't blame you. I remember I shot him, and he fell off the platform he was in, because you're all on a platform.
But you're still expecting something after that.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, what's going to happen? Like, okay, this guy's going to come, because his whole point of the Spire was to gain this unlimited power to bring back his wife and daughter, because they had died in some sort of accident, I don't remember exactly how. So you thought he was going to be some monstrosity, this big-ass boss fight, and then Teresa comes down. At this point, I'm thinking, fuck, I knew this bitch was evil. Like, that's who I actually thought was going to be the final boss the whole time. I'm like, I fucking knew it, let's go. And she's talking about how she wants to keep the Spire to herself. I'm like, fuck that shit. This Spire needs to go. And then she gives you 3 options. And those 3 options were the good, the neutral, and the bad, basically. The good was you let everyone survive that died, making the Spiral, which actually did absolutely nothing in-game.
Fuck all.
Nothing.
Or you got a shit ton of money, which I already went through. I have an infinite amount.
Yeah, and I had a ton, even though I didn't use the glitch. And so that was the bad ending. And then the neutral ending was you get your loved ones back. So if you had kids or wife and your dog, because your dog fucking dies. Oh yeah, we didn't mention that. Yeah, Lucian shoots your fucking dog, which makes you even more wanting to beat this fucker's ass. So I picked the middle one. I think Jay picked the middle one.
Yeah,
right?
Bring back my family and my dog. So I bring them back, and what happens? Instantly, like 300 divorces.
So you got that. So what I did in my gameplay through, so there is a side quest. So in the first game, right, there is Lady Grey, the mayor of Bowerstone. You can marry her. She's evil as shit. And in the Lost chapters, they actually added more to it, where you can find her sister that she murdered and then, lock her away. But in the original Fable, you couldn't do that. You could either marry her or don't. So in Fable 2, there was a guy who was trying to resurrect the marrier. Fable 2 has some weird shit that goes on in it, admittedly. Has some weird fucking shit.
Yeah, you're helping the guy who runs the cemetery marry zombie Lady Grey.
Zombie Lady Grey. So when he reanimates her, you have to get out in a certain time. And I'm like, fuck this shit. I married her in the first game. I'm gonna marry her in the second game too. So I married her. You can't have kids with her, thankfully. but I married her, got a house, all that bullshit. So when I picked, it didn't matter which one I picked, but I picked the middle one. Well, the game glitches if you do that, and you can't complete the fucking mission. Because Lady Grey never shows back up. So I never...
Yeah, your whole thing is to go and say, hi, wife.
Yeah.
Yours glitches out. Mine have all divorced me and fucking split town. Neither of us can go see them. I have 400 kids running around somewhere. Nope, not anymore. They're all back, but I can't see them. So it's just, but I got my dog back. But at that point, I was kind of like irritated with the dog. Like, fuck you.
It was just, it's, you know what? Maybe there's other games, and Mass Effect 3, I think has a claim as well. I played that series. You didn't. Fable 2 is the worst ending I have ever seen in a video game. Ever.
Yeah.
What the fuck happened there? Did they run that?
From the story to the boss fight itself, it can make a claim on both, and the fact that it has both. Yeah, it's the worst ending ever.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. And I mentioned Mass Effect 3. I'll get into that just a little bit here. You know, that ruined a trilogy story that was really, really good, even though the gameplay on 1 was really, really terrible. But 2 and 3 were really good. But man, this game, it hurts. It's 15 years later, and I still get unreasonably pissed off about it. I have not touched this game, or a very, very limited amount, since that happened. You have said you went into even Act 3. I've started and went.
That's the only time you get to the Island of Horrors.
That's a good point.
It's Act 3.
That's a good point. I never thought about that, but I'm just so disappointed. And you know, obviously, I want to play this game for the gaming channel. I want to play Fable first. It's going to be a bit difficult to figure out how I'm going to do those parts out because they're going to be long. But fuck, man, like what happened? You had, even if you didn't want to make Lucian the final boss and you want to make Teresa the final boss, which is where I thought it was going, it makes sense. That leap makes sense. And
they do nothing. Okay, so Fable 4 coming out, right? Yes.
Yes.
No. Maybe.
I think it's a remake of the first one, but yeah, something along those lines.
But she's a continuing character across the entire series.
Yes.
You do nothing to address it in 2. You go and she's like, well, the Spire's mine now. And you're like, okay. And she has, and then you come into 3 and she's like, hey, here's a path for you to follow. Go and do that. And if you need me, I'm around, but you don't ever talk to me again. I'm not really here. I'm here, but pretend I'm not. So she's not a character for that. But they brought her into it and then just fucked off with it. 3 has a whole bunch of other issues. I think 3 ruins the entire series almost as much as the ending of 2 does.
Yeah, 3 has problems. I did enjoy my time in 3, what limited I did. I got to the point where you became king, and I'm like,
See, I've never made it that far. I've started it. I got invested in it to a point, and I'm just, I don't care enough.
Yeah, it's an extraordinarily easy mainline in the mainline game. The road to rule, as it's called, is not good. I didn't like that at all.
No, it's no longer this RPG element. It's like they turned it into a board game. And I don't have anything against board games. I enjoy board games.
Me too.
Don't combine the two.
No. The limitation on weaponry and magic spells in that game seemed extraordinarily low, and armor. There was so few. It felt like an incredibly limited option of special weapons compared to 1 and 2. And 2 felt almost less than 1, so that's a weird dynamic to go to. Fable 3, it was okay, but it was not in a vacuum. It's an okay game, but okay. Fable 2, that ending ruined it.
Let's go off on a little tangent here because we're gonna do this video later. In terms of RPGs, what's another one of your all-time favorites?
Dragon Age.
Dragon Age. Love the storyline in the first one. Really like the gameplay in the second one. The third one, nothing really seems wrong or bad about it. Neither of us have finished it.
I never even came close.
No, not even close. The Fable series. Love the first one. Love 99% of the second one. Neither have finished the third one. I think that's odd that those are my two favorite RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the trilogy, I've never finished the trilogy for either.
No, because there's something that happens. We'll talk about Dragon Age more. I like Knights of the Old Republic. They didn't make that a trilogy. They made that 2 games. The second game was substantially worse than the first game. They both are unplayable nowadays. I wish they'd make remakes of them because the first Knights of the Republic storyline is fucking... It made me a Star Wars fan, and I still think it's the best story in Star Wars.
I remember you telling me about that game, and then I'm like, I found it, and I went back to play it. I'm like, what the fuck was he thinking? Like, this is shit.
I played it when it first came out, so that was a little bit different, but it is unplayable now. 100% unplayable today. So I'd always had hope that they would remake those games because the first story, at least in the first one, was fucking incredible. The second one had its moments, but was a lot weaker. I like the Mass Effect series, and that had just an absolutely shitty ass ending in the third one. The difference between Mass Effect 3 and Fable 2. One, it was a trilogy for 3 that was an all-encompassing story. The problem they ran into, and I saw this a mile away even before it came out for Mass Effect 3, even though I was super excited, almost excited for that as I was Fable 2, is they wrote themselves in a corner. They didn't have a good out. And you could see it coming with how the Reapers, as it was called, these unbeatable beings that come down every so often when societies get too advanced and eliminate society, as you know, on certain planets. They wrote themselves into a corner, and then their ending was absolute shit, to the point where they made a patch to redo the ending, and it still was shit. It was slightly better, but it was still shit. But, and you know, we talked about Dragon Age, and that's a whole separate video. We'll talk about our pros and cons of both games there. Those are my 4 RPGs that I remember the most. There's 4 I love to death. I'm not a big RPG guy. I never played Final Fantasy. I don't really have a desire to. I'm trying to think of other RPGs.
I'm trying to think if I would have a third one. Like, there's been some that I've enjoyed playing, but like, I'm not a big fan of the Skyrim series.
Elder Scrolls, yeah, I'm not either.
Elder Scrolls, it's just not for me. Whether it's the first person aspect, or I found a big glitch in one of those two, and it had
Skyrim. You did
Skyrim.
Yeah, you had 2 different magic on your gloves, and you hurt the one, saved them, hurt the one. You just kept getting experience that way or something.
Oh, yeah, you could heal things. So I'm like, kill, heal, kill, heal, kill, heal. So like the most minor thing, and just like infinite experience points.
Yeah, Skyrim. Never been an Elder Scrolls fan. Skyrim's just too damn big, and it's the same issue. With I have a lot of games that are made nowadays, especially RPGs. That's just too damn fucking big.
Well, it's not even a matter of it being too big for Skyrim for me. It's how big it is between things to do. So you're just running to nothing, or even worse, you run across a big section of a map to an area where you can skip a large section, but then you have to have a load screen. So it's, well, I have nothing to do. Let me run for no reason, get to here, wait for a load screen, get to this new section of the map, run for no damn reason with nothing to do to another here so I can warp and wait for a load screen and do it again and again and again.
It's like, that's not fun. Like, yeah, the world looks incredible, it's cool, but you have to have stuff to do. And a game that I have the same problems with as a Nintendo game is, it's not an RPG necessarily, but Breath of the Wild has that same fucking problem. Everyone loves it. It's like, oh my god, it looks amazing, the world's incredible. Yeah, but there's nothing to fucking do in the game. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but and technically, everything is optional, because you can just go to the dumbest named villain of all time, Calamity Ganon, and you can go to him right away. And you're gonna have a hell of a time with them, but you can beat them right away. Everything's technically optional, and everyone's like loves that game. They think it's like this great Zelda game. I'm like, it's okay, and I got bored with it pretty fucking quickly. And same with Skyrim, same with some of those big, and same with and spoiler, same with Inquisition for me.
Well, it's not the case with Fable 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both encapsulated right up until the end, and then our souls sucked from our bodies, spat down our throats.
And fucked in the ass.
Without the courtesy of a reach around.
That end, man. Again, in October of this year, 2023, it'll be 15 years and this game's been released, and talking about it still hurts the soul. Fuck, man, how do you fuck it up that bad?
So what's our takeaway? Are we recommending people go back and play this?
I mean, yeah, I would tell people to play it. Just be prepared to be completely. If you're prepared for it, then everything else before it's you're gonna be able to enjoy it. It's when you weren't prepared for it that makes it fucking even shittier. You watch this vid, you're ready for it. You can. I would recommend that first 99% of the game absolutely all day long.
Well, even right up until the last fight, like you go in, and you go into the music box, and you're going back as a child with your sister, and you're just reliving the same day, and you can get caught in an infinite loop. Like you have to make the decision to get out of that, but you can continue that same day over and over as a child again. And I've gone through a second playthrough doing that where I'm just like, no, fuck it, I'm gonna say as a kid, end the game, I'm a kid.
My sister's alive, what's wrong?
But that whole music box thing, it's really an interesting concept for a game. It's quite beautifully done. I really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a boss fight afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, that's. What do you play a video game? Like these type of video games, what are you playing them really for? You're playing them for the gameplay ultimately. The experience is nice, and Fable 2 had a great one. But you're looking for that final fucking boss at the end, that mega battle. And the final boss was an act and a half ago. That was the last boss fight. Final act 2.
We grew up and it was all gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting closer now to where, or not even closer. There are flat out games where they're just story-based games. And yet there's some interactive elements to it. But you can get into it for just the story. This one should be the epitome of gameplay and story. But in order to have that, in order to have gameplay, there has to be a good final boss fight.
Yeah.
So is this my all-time favorite game? No, but can I tell you what is? Not really. I'm not comfortable saying that this is because of the ending.
I mean, I'm with you. It's I could tell you probably. I go through like 3 different games as my all-time favorite game, but this had the opportunity to be. It was so fucking close, and then it
shit my bed.
It was the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Boston Bruins. Is what it ultimately ended up being in 2003 when they had 4-1 lead in the third period and blew it.
This isn't as bad as Boston winning.
It's pretty bad.
It's not that bad.
It's pretty bad.
Think about that.
It ruined the entire series. It's pretty bad. I think it's closer than you.
Plus, did Fable 2 have a happy Brad Marchand?
Well, they didn't have him back when that game happened, but yeah. But yeah, no, or was it 2004? Whatever year it was. I think that's the wrong year. But I had to make an NHL reference. I'm wearing an NHL shirt.
All right, Leon.
All right.
Well, that's
Well,
it for
Jay,
Fable.
that does it for our story time of Fable 2. I didn't think we could make a 45-minute video out of this, but here we are. It's pretty good. Great game. Terrible ending. Tell us Let us know what you think of this series down in the comments below. We're gonna do more of these in the future. Maybe not necessarily video game related. Could be anything related.
We got all kinds of stories for story time coming your way. Do we want to decide which Storytime story is going to be next? Do we want to do this on Sundays around this time? Plan next Sunday at 2. Is that what we're thinking?
No, because that's Super Bowl Sunday. I'm not gonna be around. So no, but not next Sunday. But I do like the idea of doing this on the weekend at least. Because there's gonna be a day or two I go Rob's from time to time or whatever. But yeah, no, I'm all for doing this on the weekends that we can. If we can do it Tuesday, or Sundays, not Tuesdays, but Saturday or Sunday, I like this series.
All right. Well, I've been giving fewer and fewer shits about the Super Bowl every year. I will not be participating in anything. Fuck. I might do something for the fucking Super Bowl ads. I always like to rank those. But,
True.
I can catch those all on YouTube afterwards and watch them all on there. So maybe I don't have to subject myself to this year's shit bowl at all.
There is a possibility I do a solo vid about the Super Bowl. I need to make one for a recap of my Jaguars season yet. I haven't done that yet, but those are 2 videos that are going to be in the pipeline for live streams for solo vids on my part here on the Lunchroom Syndicate. And if you're interested in watching gameplay, you can always check out my channel at Zunker's Gaming channel here on YouTube.
All right, but until next time, thank you for joining us, and deuces.